Hello and welcome to episode 14 of Some Like It Real. I'm Bryan.
And I'm Veronica.
And we're two cinephiles who love to talk movies.
We have weekly episodes discussing the newest films, creating lists and drafts, and keeping you updated on the latest movie headlines and awards races.
As a reminder, please like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms, which helps more people find the show.
And share it with any cinephiles in your life.
And today we are giving you guys our thoughts on the highly anticipated The Drama starring Zendaya and Robert Pattinson.
Yes, we are very excited to get into all of the drama. But before we do, let's just play some catch up. We have some news stories and trailers that we can spill about. So, Bryan, if you want to read off some of the most recent headlines.
Hold on. Before we get into all of that, Veronica, would you like to tell the listeners what our original plan for this episode was? Because it makes for a very funny and entertaining story.
Well, we had just sort of seen, what was coming out this week, and we were like, obviously we're going to cover the drama. Both super interested in that. And we were like, well, the other big movie is Super Mario Galaxy. I don't know.
That's what it's called.
That's the point. The point is that, Bryan was like, well, that'll be a cool double topic. And I was like, yeah, it's two super different movie offerings. So it might be cool to do both of them. But then, Bryan, I believe you saw this lovely film a few days ago and you were like, let's not bother.
What did I write to you exactly? It'd be really funny if you just read the text right on air.
Oh, I'll have to find it.
What did I just text you out of the blue?
I was not prepared for this. Let me see.
We
Yoshi
love off the
Innocent.
cuff stuff.
Yoshi Innocent. So we can start with that. I just felt okay. Mario fucking sucked. That was it. I don't know if I have the capacity to talk about it on the pod. I just felt nothing. And you had an annoying mom next to you who was having her kid play games on their phone.
The whole movie. Oh my god! Like if you're gonna bring your child to the movie, and to a movie like that, I expect better behavior. I really do. Like it's one thing if the child was yapping, but to be on the phone playing games the whole time, just awful experience. Bad movie too. It didn't help that the movie was not very good either. But I stand by what I said. Yoshi Innocent.
I did not even see the first one. Mario's not like a really big deal to me or anything, so I never really caught up with the first one. But I was prepared to watch the first one and then go see the new one. But then you left me off the hook. We're not covering it here, so
I saved you big time, so you're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Of course. So yes, transitioning back into our main discussion, a whole bunch of news stories came out in the last few weeks. Also, we have to point out who won the latest draft. We did a Best Picture winners draft, and David, our guest, took home the award for the Oscar for Best Lineup of the Best Picture winners draft.
He is the best picture.
Another victory for Team A. Another not so good victory for Veronica, unfortunately.
When will be my time?
Your time will come. I can feel it. Hopefully next draft will be your time. Also, we need to let Team A stop winning. Team A has won every single draft we've done so far.
What's with that?
It's time to spice things up. Like, come on.
I guess that first pick is really important, apparently.
I guess so. Well, if you're Team A for the next draft, you better pick a really good pick.
Let's hope.
Don't go with your heart. Go for the vote.
No, I'm going to be cynical. I just want the most votes.
That's all you could do. And at this stage, if you don't go cynical, then what's even the point?
Mm-hmm.
But congrats to David. Congrats, David. We will probably have it back on at some point, so stay tuned for that. But anyway, now back to the main program. Okay, so in the 2 weeks that we've been away from doing these review episodes, these main episodes, we've had a couple of news stories, a couple of trailers that come out. Last week on the pod, when we were doing our draft, and David had drafted Everything Everywhere All at Once, I had brought up that Ryan Gosling had joined the Daniels' newest film. Well, apparently that's no more because he has apparently exited the project and good things can happen, which really sucks. I was so excited when this piece broke because this broke just days after we did our Ryan Gosling draft and a couple of days it was a couple of days after we recorded our Project Hail Mary review. So it was like in the midst of him in this acclaimed and celebrated film, it was announced that his next project that he was going to shoot was the follow-up to Everything Everywhere All at Once, of course, directed by Oscar winners the Daniels. So everyone was really excited about that, and now it's no more. Now we don't know who's joined the project, although you made a funny joke saying that Glenn Powell is probably calling his agent right now.
He has his agent on the phone. He's like, "Let me in, coach. I can do this." I do feel like he's kind of like JV Ryan Gosling at this point.
Yes, yes.
He's also like JV Tom Cruise, JV Matthew McConaughey. He's got like a few lanes that he could occupy.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. In terms of other news that's not exactly most uplifting, we're getting apparently a new Lord of the Rings film that is going to be written by probably the biggest Lord of the Rings Tolkien fan out there, Stephen Colbert, and his son. Now, I mean, I love Lord of the Rings, and I do love Stephen Colbert. And I mean, I guess if you're going to get somebody to write a Lord of the Rings film, this is a pretty cool choice. And now that Stephen Colbert doesn't have anything to do come like May or June, it's like, well, now he has all the time in the world to do whatever he wants. And probably the bleakest news of them all, we're getting the reboot of the wonderful 13 Going on 30 for Netflix. It's starring Logan Lerman and Emily Bader, two very talented people, two hot people. But why are we getting this? Just why are we even bothering rebooting something so beloved like 13 Going on 30? And yeah, these stories aren't great. What's the worst piece of news of these three? What's the worst story of these three? I would probably have to say the 13 Going on 30 news, although the Gosling exit into Daniels is a close second. It's weird.
Yeah.
I didn't think that I would say that the Stephen Colbert Lord of the Rings news would be the best one of the three, but hey.
I mean, I'm happy for Stephen Colbert at the very least. But yeah, I mean, sucks for Ryan Gosling, especially when he's in the middle of such a big moment. It's kind of a bummer that like his next, big movie that's on the horizon is just the Star Wars one, which I'm, a bit apprehensive about. So it would have been cool if he had like gone to work with another, exciting set of filmmakers, rather than just focusing on that. But and then 13 Going on 30, that is like on my Mount Rushmore of like early 2000s, my childhood, like rom-com movies. That's like at the very top. So this, I mean, I it's interesting at least that it's like a reboot rather than just trying to do like a, legacy sequel thing that like almost everything else is going for. Like, I don't know if there's, I think they would have to like update the concept or something. Like it would have to be like a different time jump. They can't just be literally remaking like Jenna Rink and from the 80s to the 2000s, like all that. That would just, it would just be like ridiculous. It would just be like unnecessary. So I don't know. I'm trying to like, my heart is open. If it sucks, it doesn't undo the first one. Like I always try to keep that in mind when something I love is getting rebooted in any way. I don't really know Emily Bader that well. Logan Lerman obviously has been around for a long time, but I don't know. Not excited about it. Very apprehensive, but if they do something interesting with it, if they put a twist on it in some way, I'm gonna try to be open-minded.
You didn't watch People Who Meet on Vacation?
I didn't yet. No, I have to catch up with that one.
Well, she's in that, and the movie, it's
good,
fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. It is what it is, but she's very good in it, and like I said, she's very beautiful. And Logan Lerman is too, but like, I don't know. It's just like, you're not going to be able to match what Jennifer Garner and Mike Caine, Mark Ruffalo were able to bring to the screen. Like, you're not going to be able to replicate that. And I'm sure that these actors know that they're not going to match what they did either. But it's also like, again, what's the point of having this? Good luck to whoever they get.
Write a new rom-com and put them both in it. Like, we don't have to.
But see, that would be too simple. That would be a smart thing, and Hollywood is not smart. Also, good luck to whoever they get to play Emily Bader's boss, because he's not going to match the genius of what Andy Serkis, speaking of Lord of the Rings, brought to the screen.
And Judy Greer as the best friend / antagonist. Like, oh my God, she's unbeatable. So,
you're not going to be able to.
For them.
What's the saying? You're not going to be able to strike lightning twice in a bottle or something, or is that the saying?
that doesn't sound right, but it's something like that.
I don't
You
know.
can't
Listen. I've been up
catch
since four
lightning
in
in
the
a bottle
morning.
twice,
I'm
something like that.
drained. I'm drained. I don't know half of what I'm saying right now. So, what other piece of news that we have?
Other news is that the Oscars are going to be moving from the Dolby Theater to the Peacock Theater in 2029, and this is the same year that they're going to be making the move from ABC to YouTube. So just more change in the Oscars institution. From what I understand, this is sort of less in like the direct Hollywood area, and this is also where other events take place, like the Emmys, I believe. So I don't know. I guess there's a sense that it maybe feels a little less special, less like its own thing that happens. It's the only thing that happens there and everything. But yeah, I don't know, Brian. How do you feel about this change in venue?
I'm just curious what's going to happen to that big array of like every year they have like the best picture winners and then they add the
Hmm.
new best picture winner, which is like right outside the Dolby Theater. Like, where are they going to put that? Are they going to like move that all the way to the Peacock Theater, or are they going
Yeah,
to
I
keep
hope
it
they
at the
keep
Dolby?
that there. Yeah, and
That's
keep adding
at the
to it.
time. At the time that this happens, that will be, we just had the 98th Oscar, so that's going to be the 101st Oscars.
Hmm.
So what are you going to move 101 nominee winners at that point? Like, what are you gonna do? I mean, it is kind of crazy that that's happening when not only are they changing venues, but they're also going to be changing networks at that time. I'm still very intrigued to see how that whole transition is going to pan out, going
Hmm.
from ABC to YouTube, where everybody can watch it. You don't need to buy a subscription. You don't need to rent YouTube TV just to have it for a day so that you can watch this and everything. I'm really curious how this is all going to pan out. But this isn't as big of a news story as the other three stories that we brought up. But because we talk about the Oscars here on this pod, I figure it was a very important piece of information to touch upon.
Yeah, definitely. We also had some trailers coming out recently. So, Brian, you're gonna give your thoughts on. You pick which one to go at first. So we had Moana, we had Backrooms, the new film from A24, The End of Oak Street, and the Harry Potter series on HBO. All had new trailers recently.
I think we should go in the order that you listed. I think we should start with Moana, get that out of the way, and then save Harry Potter for last. So, Moana, this looks like absolute shit. This looks like the bottom of the barrel for these Disney remakes. As if they couldn't get any worse, we have this. First of all, we've talked about this verbatim. Moana, the original animated, is so good. It's great. It's only 10 years old, and the fact that we're already getting a remake is literally disgusting to me. The color, the visual splatter, the whim of that original is nowhere to be found in this remake. And it still blows my mind, genuinely, that when he was promoting the Smash Machine, Dwayne Johnson said that now going forward, I get to do the projects that I want to do. Well, first of all, you could have done that anyway. You have more money than anyone in the world. You could have always picked the projects that you wanted and you would have been fine. This is an embarrassment. And I do feel for a lot of the actors that are involved. I believe they have a lot of Polynesian actors in this film, and that's awesome. That's a huge win. It's just unfortunate that their moment to shine is going to be in what will most likely be a horrible remake. And listen, you never know. Maybe this remake could not be the worst thing in the world, but from the trailer that I've seen, it really looks awful. It looks embarrassing. And again, this is just a reminder that some things don't translate well to live action, and this absolutely does not. Those are my 2 cents.
Yeah, so true. You're right. The Dwayne Johnson thing. It's a lot like Robert Downey Jr. spending all of Oppenheimer's press run being like, "It's so nice to be in a real movie again," and then like, "Oops, back to Marvel. Gonna be
That's
Doctor
literally
Doom."
what I
Like,
was thinking of the entire time.
yeah,
I was literally
yeah.
thinking about that
It's
the entire time. It's like, okay, The Smasher Machine wasn't a great film. It wasn't as well received as probably a lot of people had anticipated. I didn't hate the movie. I actually thought Dwayne Johnson was very good in that movie. And it reminded me that, if he's given a decent script and he's working with someone who actually knows how to direct, he could get a really good performance. And I do think that there is more opportunities for him to grow as an actor going forward, but this is not that opportunity.
yeah, but he's got
This
to
is
take that
really
risk,
just
and I'm wondering if like the performance of the Smashing Machine not doing that well, awards wise or box office wise, I don't know if that maybe like gave him cold. I mean, I'm sure this one in particular was in probably development already, but yeah,
Yeah, they shot they shot this in late 2024, so this was way before the Smasher Machine even came out.
yeah, it's just like cash grab all around. There's the color sucks, the wigs suck. Oh my god, it's getting
The wigs are
roasted a lot.
embarrassing.
Yeah, it's just I have no interest in it. And you're right, yeah, it's a super recent one, like in the history of Disney and everything. It's a popular one, which is probably why we're getting that now. But the animated one is perfect. Leave it alone. Stop
Yeah,
doing
that's
this.
like what your top two Disney films ever?
Yeah,
Isn't that like
that is
super
way
high
up
for
there for
you?
me. Yeah, it's pretty much that and Beauty and the Beast probably.
It's just I just
So
cannot believe that we're getting this. It's so embarrassing that
I kind
we're
of thought
getting
Snow
this.
White was gonna put them like on hold with these for a while because that was just like so fraught and like didn't do well at all. But apparently not. They're like, nope, just gonna keep pumping them out.
Yeah, now they're getting ready to do the Tangled remake,
Hmm.
and it's like again, why do we need it? Although the Catherine Hahn casting is pretty fantastic. I
That is
can't
pretty
lie.
good.
Like that's a pretty good casting. They
That's why I
cast
feel
him.
like these exist. It's just for like cool casting announcements, but then they don't
Yeah.
do anything with them.
No, they have the opportunity to make these films look good, and they all look like garbage. They have
Yeah.
more money than a majority of the studios in the business today, and all their films look like they were made for $50,000. It's so embarrassing. It like literally is embarrassing. They just don't do anything to enhance what they're doing. It's disappointing.
Yeah, there's just
It's just
no creative risk at all when they're dealing with projects this big, but there's no reason to make them so enormous and have budgets so huge. Like just take your time, use the money wisely and create something interesting, not just, regurgitating what they already did.
yes. But thankfully transition into something interesting. Backrooms. What are your thoughts on this trailer?
I'm excited for this. Yeah, this is from the director. I'm blanking on the name, but
His
he's
name is
like a
Kane Parsons.
Kane Parsons, who is I believe 20 years old and
20 years old,
directing two Oscar nominees in his debut feature, which is like
under
really
age
impressive.
24.
Yep. Yeah, that alone seems really impressive, and just the fact that stars like Chiwetel Ejiofor and Renata Reinsve signed on for this. I'm like, there's got to be, something to it. It was a cool trailer. It looks, very tense, very thriller horror esque. So I'm ready to see what this entails. What about you?
Yeah, so this is based on a series of shorts that were put on YouTube by Kane Parsons. And, for a debut, I gotta say, I was really impressed. I thought this looked really terrifying and really engrossing. And I mean, it's really inspiring to learn that this kid is 20 years old directing two of the best actors working today under age 24, and I'm really impressed. I mean, I was very impressed with the footage that we've gotten, and I'm very excited to see it. And yeah, I'm ready to watch it. I can't wait to check it out when it comes out. I'm very very excited for that.
Yeah, the vibe, I don't know, with the like whole backroom thing going on. It was giving me a little bit of like a barbarian vibe. Maybe not that like tongue in cheek, but just that sort of like creepy, unsettling kind of thing. So we'll see. I think it looks pretty good.
What's the next one? What's the next
Next
trailer
up,
we
we
got?
had the trailer for The End of Oak Street. I didn't really know anything about that until the trailer dropped. But what about you? What did you know about it going in?
I knew literally nothing. I literally knew nothing except for who directed it, who was in it. Now, it's important to point out that this was originally known as Flowerfield Street, but now it's called The End of Oak Street. It's the new film from David Robert Mitchell, the guy who directed It Follows and Under the Silver Lake. We have Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor headlining the cast. I believe it's set in the 80s from what it looks like. Oh, and then, the trailer was going on, and I'm like, oh, this looks like your kind of run of the mill, like psychological kind of horror Spielbergian film. And then there's dinosaurs in the movie, which I
Yeah.
had no idea was even a thing. So literally when the dinosaur came on screen, I'm like, oh, this is what this is. I'm sold. Honest, and J.J. Abrams is producing it, which is pretty cool too. So it kind of gives me vibes of someone that like Spielberg would have made back in the day, and mixed with a little bit of J.J. Abrams. There's theories online that this is a Cloverfield movie. I don't think that that's the case at all. Just because J.J. Abrams' name is attached to it, that just
Hmm.
I understand the people wanted more in the Cloverfield universe, but let's relax. But honestly, this is a movie where I don't need to see any more. I was satisfied by this teaser, and I'm very excited to see it. And it's one of 5,000 projects that Anne Hathaway is in this year. So
Hmm.
sign me up. And Ewan McGregor he's daddy. So I'm all for it.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I didn't know anything about it. I was like, oh, okay, it's going there. And yeah, I agree. I don't want to see anything else. I'm intrigued. I will be there to see on the day that it releases. So yeah,
Yes.
looks interesting.
Yes. And lastly, HBO dropped the first look of their Harry Potter television series.
This little indie series, came out of nowhere.
This is so tricky to talk about because obviously, like, if you go on the internet, you know that the subject of Harry Potter isn't exactly a celebrated piece of chatting on the online sphere and everything for reasons.
For reasons
I don't,
of fuck J.K. Rowling, to be clear.
yes, important to point out, fuck J.K. Rowling, but what did you think of this trailer? Like, how did you feel about it? Like, I mean, we'll be quick because I know everyone's ready to hear us talk about the drama and everything. But like, how did you feel? Initial thoughts. How did you feel about this trailer as a whole?
Yeah, similar to the Moana one. I mean, it looks much better made than that, but I'm just like, why? And it's actually it looked so like the original movies, but a little worse. And it's like if you're not gonna do something new with it or have some new vision or direction, then like what really is the point other than obviously money? It just like it definitely seems like they're going for the exact same sort of vibe, the exact same design. Like it just seems they want to remind us of the movies that already, for I mean, it's a 8 movie series. Like there are, definitely people have favorites and everything, but as a whole, like they worked really, really well. And like there's just no reason for this. It's not the kind of thing where like, and I was big into Harry Potter, at the time. I read all the books when I was a kid, saw the movies as they came out and everything. Like this was a big deal for me, but it's not something that like, I wasn't watching this trailer like, oh, despite myself, despite the fact that I don't want to, help J.K. Rowling profit from anything, despite that it's a, superfluous remake. I'm getting kind of drawn in. It wasn't like that. It didn't create any sort of excitement for me. It was just like, this looks like, it looks like an AI version of like the Harry Potter trailer. Not that it looks like it was, assisted in that way or anything, but just like it is like the original Harry Potter, just like slightly different actors, slightly different, scenarios and everything. It just seems so unnecessary, and I'm annoyed that it is gonna exist.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I will be honest, it wasn't the worst. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like when the trailer came out, I was ready to say that this is the worst thing that I've ever seen. And listen, I'm not thrilled about this existing. Like from day one, I was never in support of this series existing because yeah, I grew up with the books similar to you, and I loved those movies very much. They meant a lot to me growing up, and of course I still have appreciation for those movies as an adult and everything, but we don't need a TV series. It's just very weird. The whole situation is just very odd to me. And like the kids, they look good in the roles and everything, and the adults that they have like John Lithgow playing Dumbledore and Janet McTeer playing McGonagall, and then Nick Frost is Hagrid. That's pretty fantastic casting. But that being said, the show just looks like every other show on TV right now that's produced by a big studio. It kind of gives me like Star Wars color palette. They just didn't really put any effort into it, and yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look like the worst thing that I've ever seen, but it obviously doesn't look like the best thing ever. Like for it being a new incarnation of Harry Potter, where's the magic? There's not really any magic present.
Well, it's because
And
they're just kind of trying to recreate the exact same magic we already had 20
exactly,
years ago. Like, if they went for
exactly.
something different, then okay, you might say it works, you might say it doesn't, but they're clearly just trying to do the same thing, just reheated.
Yeah. Yep, exactly the case. And I think it's bold for them to be like, okay, we're gonna do 7 seasons of this show. I think that's a huge gamble, but whatever.
I'm
Not our
interested, yeah.
problem.
I could kind of see like the enthusiasm for it running out after the novelty of a year. Like, I think when it comes out this year, I think it is going to be a big deal. I think a lot of people are going to just throw it on and be intrigued.
Yeah.
And, there's still a lot of big Potter fans out there. So I think that'll happen, but I could kind of see like viewership dwindling each season afterwards.
Especially considering the fact that they've admitted that they're not gonna release a season every year. So
Yeah, there's going to
like
be time between.
there's going to be probably like 2 years at the very minimum in between these seasons. So it's
So the
like, is
kids are going to
anyone?
be 30 by the end, just like Stranger Things.
It's literally going to pull the Stranger Things effect. Like that's that's not smart, but not our problem. It's not our problem. So anyway, that's it with news and trailers.
Yeah, that concludes our recap of everything from the last few weeks. Mixed bag for sure.
Mixed bag.
But yeah, but at least we have interesting movies to discuss, and so it is time to segue into our main topic, where we'll be reviewing the drama. We'll be beginning with our non-spoiler thoughts, and then transitioning into full spoilers. So, Brian, what were your expectations going into the drama, and how'd you feel overall?
This was easily one of my most anticipated films of the year for many reasons. First of all, it's directed by Kristoffer Borgli, who directed one of my favorite films of 2023, Dream Scenario. I went into that film, I saw it at my very first Toronto Film Festival, knew nothing about it other than the fact that it starred Nicolas Cage. And I walked out of that movie going, oh my God, that was brilliant. And whatever this guy does next, I will be watching. And then it was announced like a year later that his follow up to that was going to be this film called The Drama, starring two of the best actors working today, Zendaya and Robert Pattinson. So, of course, when either of them jump onto a project, I'm going to be seeing it because they've both proven themselves to be really capable of picking incredible projects. I mean, just look at the last few years alone, what both of these actors have done. Like, it's pretty incredible, the eclectic array of work that they've put themselves into, separating themselves from the personas to where we were first introduced to them many, many years ago.
Yeah,
And
both
I thought
both
the
child
trailers
stars.
looked really promising too. I thought everything just the ingredients were there. Like everything was there. I was so sold on everything that I was getting leading up to this, and I was so curious of what the drama in the drama was. So I saw the film a few nights ago. I really liked it overall. Borderline loved it. I have some nitpicks with it. I also do think that this might warrant a second watch for me because it's a lot to process on the initial viewing. And even still, many days later, haven't seen it. I saw it on Monday. We're recording this episode on Friday. I'm still marinating everything that happened in this film. But overall, I was very, very impressed with the way it has this very provocative commentary on the themes that it's discussing. Zendaya and Robert Pattinson are outstanding in this together and separately. They're delivering some of their best work. This is a reminder that Robert Pattinson needs to do more comedy going forward because he is so incredible in this. He is so funny. And he is the kind of guy that, again, every time I see him in anything, he reminds us I am more than Twilight Boy. I am an actor. I could do anything. And he literally can do anything. And this movie proved that once more. And again, this is a very hard movie to talk about without spoiling, and we'll get into
Yeah.
spoilers. But I think that for me, on initial watch and in the days since I saw it for the first time, I am a fan. I really liked it overall. Not quite in the loved it territory. This is definitely going to be a super divisive movie, and already it has
Yeah.
shown itself to be a very divisive film amongst critics. And I'm sure audiences are going to be divisive with it, and cinephiles. Like, everybody is all over the place with this movie. And it's poisoned a lot of interesting conversations and a lot of interesting discourse. So we will see how we fare into all of that. I haven't talked to Veronica about it, although she did text me last night, giving me a sentence, a 5 word sentence of how she felt, and I'm not going to repeat what she said, so I'm going to let her speak on it. So, Veronica, what were your expectations going into the drama, and how did you feel about it overall?
I think my text was something like, "I fucking love the drama." Like it was pretty straightforward. Yeah, so I was definitely super excited for this. Like you said, one of my more anticipated ones of the year. Also saw Dream Scenario and really liked that. Maybe didn't quite love, but really liked it. I've been meaning to catch up on Sick of Myself, I think is his other big movie, Kristoffer Borgli. I've heard good things about that one as well. So yeah, I was just interested in, both Robert Pattinson and Zendaya working with this, sort of auteur, writer, director. Saw the trailer and definitely was super into it. I think that just I'm always interested in, I mean, I love genre movies. I love, bigger crazy movies and everything, but like something about just like a more sort of grounded, adults dealing with relationships kind of movie. I just absolutely love that thing, and it's something that we have, fewer and fewer of these days. So the idea that like two like big movie stars were putting their star power behind it, I was really excited about what that could mean. And yeah, I think it's pretty clear from the trailer. They're getting married. There's some sort of drama. There is some sort of secret. And so I was just very curious about what that could be. I knew that would shape a lot of the movie, so I didn't necessarily know what to expect, plot wise or character wise or anything. But I think that the performances are great. I think I really love the editing and the construction of it. And it really just kept me engaged the whole time. And I do also think that it would probably do well in a second watch. I think there's probably a lot more that you could pick up on. So yeah, it's really interesting because you can almost see the glimmers of like a really slick, beautiful, charming rom-com that could be going on here, but instead it devolves into something much more fucked up and thorny and interesting. And yeah, I do think it would be divisive. I could definitely see, this is not something I'm just going to recommend to anyone to go out and see. I think that, depends on your taste. It depends on your proclivities and everything. But for me, this was very much my shit. I loved it. And so if you're into that kind of thing, I would highly recommend seeing this before listening to any discussion about it.
Yeah, I agree. And, you brought up, before we get into the spoiler territory of it all, you brought up of how when the movie begins, it's like, it kind of gives off this conventional rom com vibe, but then there's some darkness hidden underneath it. And what's so incredible, I think, about Kristoffer Borgli as a storyteller is that he's a guy that loves to explore multiple genres and tones. And each of the films, and I haven't seen his debut either, I haven't seen Sick of Myself either, but what Dream Scenario and this proved is that he is a sucker for genre exercises and blending multiple tones and making them flow very coherently. And I think that this movie is another great example of doing that, because the movie starts off very charming and very sincere and very funny. And it's funny throughout. Like the funny
Hmm.
doesn't stop when the drama is revealed,
Yeah.
but the tension increases a lot more, the seriousness increases more. It flows, in my opinion, very terrifically. And like, I know that, again, for some people this isn't someone's speed and everything, but for me, I thought it was really impressive. And you brought up the editing, and I think the editing is really remarkable here, not just with the way the film is paced, but there's a lot of cool decisions involving quick cuts and quick transitions and everything. He did that in Dream Scenario, but he takes it to a new level here in the drama. And I think it helps too that maybe he was given a much bigger budget, considering that Dream Scenario was a huge success for A24. So then A24, and also it probably helped too with the star power of Zendaya and Robert Pattinson. Instead of just having one household name, you get two, and you're given more leeway to do more coolness with it. And yeah, it was very impressive. From the filmmaking standpoint, it's great. The imagery is wonderful. The score by Daniel Pemberton is so crazy, and it's so wild too that he just had Project Hail Mary come out, and that score was very lively and exciting and fulfilling. And this was the complete opposite of the words I just said. So yeah, I was very impressed overall. And we'll get into some of my nitpicks with the movie, but overall, we're fans. Veronica's a massive fan,
I'm a big
clearly,
fan.
of this.
This is
So this is gonna
so far. This is my top of the year
Yes, this is going to be a
so far.
very, very fun discussion. This is going to be very fun to break down. So now let's rip off the band-aid and talk everything spoilers. If you haven't seen the drama, you got to get out of here right now. Get the fuck out of here
Oh, and
now.
see.
Go watch the film and come back afterwards to hear all our thoughts.
Go
All right,
join our friends
Veronica.
Charlie and Emma and see what they're up to. It's a nice wholesome time.
I have their wedding invitation on my fridge, and I'm not taking that down.
I love
I'm
it.
literally not taking that down. That's gonna stay on my fridge for as long as humanly possible. Like I took down my sister's wedding invite. I had that up for a year and a half. The wedding already happened in 2024. I kept it up there, but now I took it down.
Charlie and
So,
Emma now
s-
reign supreme.
sorry, sister and sister's husband. Okay. Spoilers for the drama. Wow, there's so much to talk about. There's a lot to talk about. When I got out of this movie the other night, I hadn't really texted Veronica anything, but in the back of my head, the whole time, I was just like, how the fuck are we going to talk about this movie? Like, where do we even begin? I mean, where do we start, Veronica? Do we start with the drama itself? Should we just get that off our chest and
Well,
talk about that?
we can get there. I think that I just saw this last night and I took some notes, so I feel like I have a somewhat of a timeline of events out. So we already touched
Please.
on this, but it definitely opens up with that very like rom-comish feeling. And I was just going through the first 20 minutes or so. I was like smiling so hard, and it was like kind of a double-sided because I was like number one just surface level like enjoying this. I was just enjoying like Robert Pattinson plays Charlie, Zendaya plays Emma. They have this meet cute in a coffee shop where he pretends to have read the book that she is reading to talk to her. We learn that
That
she's
was so brilliantly done. That was so clever. How he
awkwardly done
just
on his
goes
part.
up and then
Yeah.
he goes back and then he goes up, then he goes back.
Hmm.
And then we were revealed early on, oh, she can't hear out of one ear.
Hmm.
That was a really interesting tidbit. I was like, oh, we're getting something interesting, and the movie hasn't even been on for 5 minutes, and we're already
Yeah.
getting something interesting.
And that was well established too, where like we hear from her perspective for a second, and like the sound cuts
Hmm
out. That kind of thing was
Again,
it
it
was well
just
done.
shows how great the editing is. The
Yeah.
editing is really one of the MVPs of this entire film.
Yeah, yeah. So we pick up with Charlie with his best man, played by Mamadou Atachi, I think you say his name. I'm
You
not
said
sure.
his name better than I probably would have.
Okay. So he's the best man. And so Charlie is writing his speech with him. And like for me, this worked like if this was just a straightforward rom com, this was like completely working for me. They're talking about what he wants to say in his speech. A lot of this is in the trailer too, and it's sort of cutting to their the day they met, their first date, the way he likes her laugh, which is like really crazy, things like
Very
that. And so
repulsive, as they called it.
charming but repulsive, yeah, something like that. And so yeah, I was smiling because I was just surface level enjoying it, but I was also like, oh my god, this is so sweet, and yet it's gonna get so, I know it's gonna get fucked up. I didn't know exactly how yet, but I know that they're laying the groundwork here for something much more sinister to come. So yeah, and then we pick up with them doing and it's also kind of, I think it's the week of their wedding, so like there
Yes.
are a lot of wedding tasks going on. They're kind of in like full wedding mode, which was also interesting the way that this was like felt like a full-time job for both of them at this point, where
hmm
they're got many appointments and just captured that like frenzy of a wedding week really well.
And I mean, we
Um,
saw we saw every bit of wedding preparation in these opening minutes. We saw them going
mhm.
to the choreographer of their number. We saw them going to the photographer. We saw them going to the florist. We saw them going and tasting the wine and tasting the cakes, and like we saw everything super early on. And in my head, I'm like, thank God I'm not in this position yet, because oh my God, just even before the drama was revealed, I'm like, I'm stressed just watching this, because I'm like, all the preparations it takes going into a wedding, I just can't. Did you know the person who played the choreographer of the dance that they were doing?
no, I don't think so.
So I found this out literally right before you hopped onto the call. It was
Mhm.
the person who played adult Sophie in After Sun,
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't know that.
which was a
That's
I
cool.
mean, I wouldn't have known that either. I loved that
Hmm.
sequence where they were doing the dance, and it was a beautiful scene. And then Emma's like, "Oh, why don't we just do this instead?" And she's like, "Stop fucking around!" And then just hard cut in the middle of her talking. Oh, that was
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah, a lot of and it is brilliant, and it's fun, and it's a good way like into the story, but it also really sets up how like, these are two like very affluent, very like, upper class sort of young glamorous people, and like the event of their wedding is like a giant thing. It's like taking over both of their lives, and
Yeah.
I think after that choreography session, like Emma says like this kind of just feels really performative, like to learn a dance and
Hmm.
everything. And I feel like that's a theme throughout, that weddings, relationships, all of these things are, they can what's real, what's performed, what's expected of you, that sort of thing. I think is a theme that's really weaved throughout. So yeah, so they're doing their preparations. Then, and if you would like to get into the reveal sequence where they're doing wine tasting with the best man and with the maid of honor played by Alana Haim, who are friends of the couple, and Alana reveals that before their wedding, they said the worst thing that they had ever done, revealed that to each other, and so they get into the topic of conversation.
Well, okay, that whole sequence before Emma had revealed her secret and everything
Hmm.
was both cringy and hilarious. And there were just moments where my hand was over my mouth because I was just like, "What the fuck?" Like, who comes up with stuff like this? She locked the kid in the closet, and then the best man used this girl as a shield to protect him from a dog. Then Charlie's just like, "Oh, I cyberbully someone. I made them leave. I made them switch schools and everything." And then they're like, "You're off the hook. All
He
right."
said they moved, and then he was like, "Now that I think about it, that might have just been a coincidence." Like that was.
But like the way he was like, he was just like so bashful about it. He's like, "Oh, I made
Hmm.
them move and I cyberbullied the kid and everything." Like Pattinson with his little voices and everything, just his inflections. I just love it so much. So then we get to Emma. Now, obviously in the trailer, we don't know any of these secrets that are revealed and everything. But in the trailer, Emma is about to give hers, and then it cuts to everyone just going, "What the fuck?"
It's
Like
clear that
literally,
Emma's
what the
secret
fuck?
like completely
Hmm.
changes the tone of the room and
So
is
then the
deeply, deeply
entire
fucked with.
time between when the trailer came out and now, we were all just like, what could possibly be the drama, the secret from Emma?
Yeah, what
Well,
did you think it would be going in before you had seen anything? Did you think
I,
about it?
not this, I could tell you that. Not this. Certainly not this. I don't know. Did you have a theory? Cuz I
I was
I didn't.
I was definitely thinking about it. I was like, it can't just be that she killed someone. It's a little obvious. It's a little extreme, I guess. And I was like, it can't just be that like she cheated or something. I actually had the thought, I was like, maybe it's something where like pedophilic or something. And then they mentioned the thing about like, well, they see their DJ doing drugs on the street, and they're like, well, would you fire her if
Right.
she was a pedophile? And I was like, I thought they were gonna go in that direction. I knew it had to be fucked up, but not in a way that was like completely decisive. And that's kind of what we got.
Yes. So Emma had revealed that when she was a teenager, she almost caused a mass shooting at a school. And I will tell you that when this was revealed, I mean, I did not see that coming at all. But then I kind of remembered, and so unfortunately the lead up to the movie, there were all these articles coming out and everything, and I tried to avoid them like the plague and everything. And I remember seeing the headline from our dearly beloved TMZ, who just loves to spew gossip and everything. And there was an article that came out, and the headline said Columbine victim or the parent, I don't remember the exact headline, reacts to the drama. So
Oh,
then when I saw that headline, I'm like, what does that mean?
okay. Yeah,
Does
that tips
that
you off a little bit.
Yes, yes. And I wish that I hadn't seen that beforehand, but obviously I didn't know what the the twist was and everything. If you even want to call it a twist. But when it was revealed, the tone just like shift. And you see like Charlie and his best man Mike just very confused by this, and they all think that she's joking. But then when she's just like not reacting at all, like the whole mood of the room changes. And Rachel, the maid of honor, I mean, she goes off and it becomes so thrilling and you're on the edge of your seat. And again, this is a very tricky subject to talk about because you obviously
Mhm.
have to handle it with such delicacy. You can't sugarcoat it, but you have to be careful when you handle a subject like this.
Mhm.
And I mean, again, this was not what I expected the film to go into, but I was certainly invested to see how it was going to be handled. So when the reveal was revealed, what was going on in your head and everything? Because you said that you had some theories going into it, but you obviously didn't predict this and everything.
No. Yeah, no, I had just tried to consider a couple of things of what it could be, but yeah, I didn't see any sort of spoiler or headline anything beforehand, so it was completely fresh to me. And yeah, I was like, wow, this is gonna be this is gonna be really interesting. This is definitely gonna get, uncomfortable and thorny. And yeah, it is, probably one of those few topics that particularly in America is really a third rail. It's hard to talk about. People have many varying opinions on, and it's dark. It's like I was ready for the tonal shift that was going to come with introducing something that dark. And for me, I think that it pulled it off very well. But I can definitely see someone else reading this in a different way, or feeling like they don't bring the proper weight to that. Maybe I personally, as we can get into it, I think that it does. But yeah, I was like, okay, this is where we're going. And yeah, I really like the performances in that scene, especially Zendaya. Just when this topic is introduced, I think I was just watching her the whole time. And and they've all been drinking for a while at this point. Like she says later, she never would have said anything if she wasn't drunk. And so I just think that, like, seeing her think about this, and like seeing everyone else react to it, and just realizing what a mistake that she had made, and that she was not gonna find any understanding here, especially from Rachel, who says that she also, it's sort of personal for her. Her cousin was in a shooting and is in a wheelchair now because of it. And so yeah, it just immediately sours. They break out in a big fight. Zendaya projectile vomits at the stress and the drunkenness of it too, and that is sort of the end of their the end of their night, and they go home. And then yeah, I think from there, I believe the first thing that happens after that is they're going to sleep. We sort of think we're a little bit more in Charlie's perspective throughout the movie. Like, I think we're kind of seeing what's going on in his head a little bit more. You get kind of like flashes and visions, that are both, I guess you could interpret them either way, that they're actual flashbacks to Zendaya, when she was in high school, thinking about these things. And also I think Charlie's sort of interpretation of it, or reimagining, recontextualizing different things that he's been through with Emma. And I think that first night when they like go to sleep, I think that's where it cuts to the scene of his vision of a wedding where people are dead on the ground and running in fear, and the idea of like a mass shooting taking place at their wedding is kind of the vibe. And yeah, so just even that imagery was like really really dark, really a lot to take in. And it just kind of amps up from there.
Yeah, and when we're getting the revelation of what went into this and how it ended up not even happening, we don't see a school shooting scene happen. She doesn't go forward with it and everything, but we see how she becomes deaf. We see how she, you know, starts learning that another mass shooting negatively affected her community, and that she begins to advocate for gun control. And it's that whole sequence of Emma just explaining everything to Charlie, and then we just see, kudos to whoever cast young Emma, because like, I
Hmm.
mean, she did a wonderful job too. The young Emma and everything, I thought she did great despite her little screen time and everything. It's just like, again, like, at this rate, we're now like kind of second guessing how we feel about this character. And what I think was so great about the movie is that you don't condone what Emma was thinking of doing, but you're also not hating on her Like, I like that the movie doesn't make you pick one side. Like, you're kind of just there marinating your own personal feelings and everything. The movie isn't forcing you to hate Emma, but it's also not forcing you to love her either. I don't know if you got that impression. That was the vibe that I was getting from this and everything.
Yeah, I think so. And because it immediately go like Charlie's sort of immediate reaction is to go right to like, okay, well, what happened? Why like why did you feel this way? Why did you not go through with it? Like let's like he says several times like we need to talk about this. And I think a couple times she tries to like just like can't handle it right now, tries to kind of shut it down. And he comes from a place of like, okay, I need to understand this. We need to like unpack this. And I think that's what the movie wants to do as well. Like it wants to, obviously coming from the position of this is an unacceptable thing to have put in motion, but also like what brings a person to that, and then how does their life change from that? Do you ever really change from having that sort of thought and everything? So yeah, they have this like tense emotion, even just that the scenes of that where they're sort of in various places in their apartment, their beautiful apartment, by the way, may I add, that they're just having this really tense conversation, like trying to dig into it's sort of interesting how he sort of like Charlie sort of looks for like a trauma in her past that could explain this, and could almost like tit for tat sort of explain it away. And he's like, don't you know someone who died? And she said, well, my neighbor died in a car accident, but we weren't super close or anything. And like he's just looking for something to explain it away, something that can can even it out, or in some way make sense to him in his head. And it's just sort of she explains that she moved and she was bullied, and this is never really made text either, but I think it's pretty clear that like she was a young black girl in the South, and like that probably played a hand in some of the bullying and in her feeling of isolation. And I don't know how the general reaction is going to be, if people would want that to be a little more explicitly stated, or I kind of think that it's there, and you can just pick up on it. But I like that there's no great, like she doesn't go ahead and explain like this is exactly why and this is exactly how, and like she had this general feeling of depression, of unease. And then yeah, as you said, I believe at some point he asks, well, why didn't you do it? And one of the like bigger laughs in my theater was that she's like recording her video manifesto in front of the computer, and then a little thing pops up that's like computer needs updates, like can't record now, like. And that's funny, and that's really like it was a laugh line when it happened, but it's also like to me it also was saying something about like the chaos and evil, and how like something small like that can get in the way of some larger tragedy happening. And then the fact that there was a smaller school mass shooting in her town, and a kid at her school died from it, and that sort of like that created the opportunity for her to find community. And like she said, that just kind of felt like coming out of a nightmare. It just felt like she was sort of reborn into that. And it just like all of these sort of like slightly missed connections or things that can keep something horrible from happening. It like, to me, I think that was very well documented. It was sort of like I said, it doesn't hold your hand and tell you that or anything, but I think the subtext is there if you're looking for it. But
No, I
yeah, so
agree.
they.
I agree completely about that.
Mhm.
The movie could have held your hand and explained everything to you, but that's not what the movie wanted to do. Like, and in the hands of someone else, they would have done that. They would have found a way of spoon feeding you with all this information and explaining everything to you. But that's not what this movie wanted to do. This movie wanted to paint a portrait of these very complex characters that have these flaws and have these things that they have done in their past that they're not willing to open up about, that they regret even happening. And one of the things about the movie is that this examines whether a person's worst moment should be definitive in their life and the way that they're treated, or if their forgiveness is even deserved. Like, that poses a huge question about how far are you willing to go to support your partner, even if they went on to do something, or in this case, almost do something as terrible as this.
Yeah, and it's presented in a way where like she's not this grand anti-hero like Walter White or Tony Soprano or something, where it's like she thinks or does this terrible thing, but like, and yet you're so intrigued. Like she was this disaffected kid who like had this awful moment in her life, and like it almost went really tragic, but luckily it didn't. And so it cuts from them just having this sort of like very tense conversation to I think one of the best scenes when they're having this conversation, and she's like, we have to go to our appointment, and they have to go to meet the photographer. And so they're talking about all of this, and then I believe the first moment when it cuts to the photographer talking to them, she says, okay, so I'll shoot you, and then I'll shoot your parents, and then I'll shoot your grandparents, like that. That for my theater, like that erupted at that moment, because it's just like the way that that's just like so on their minds for Charlie and Emma, and like something so innocuous as like a photographer saying they're going to shoot you, it just has a completely new context. And then they're, they do the little like trial photo shoot, and to me, like, their performances are so great in moments like this, because these are two beautiful actors who are like pretty much models in their own right, and they could not look more uncomfortable when they smile. They're so like awkward with each other, and
Especially Pattinson,
yeah.
especially him. I
Hmm.
mean, no one was able to portray uncomfortableness the way that he was able to. And this scene too, going back to how brilliant the editing was and how
Hmm.
uncomfortable it was, they would splice in these shots of like guns being held, and then you would insert young Emma into the whole shot, and it's just like, this is so uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah, and it would just that happens throughout the movie really, and it really puts you in their mindset. I think particularly Charlie, but for Emma too. And it's just like the way that everything is sort of tainted. Like he's seeing it everywhere. He has a mug that says like, "Give me coffee or I'll shoot," with a little gun on it, and he sees it and is immediately like scared almost, and
Yeah,
throws it
and he
away.
discards that mug.
Yeah, and there's a moment, actually, I wasn't sure, I wasn't positive, but like there's been like the big like promo photo with like the two of them, like, holding each other, and she's got the her hand on her chest with the ring. I
Yes.
think at one point you see that photo, but her hand has
Yes.
sort of changed from like flat to like her fingers are shaped like a gun. Like as it's on their like
Oh,
fridge at one point.
I didn't
I
notice
think
that.
I need to confirm that, but that's what it. And again, it's like everything is kind of like in these really quick cuts and stuff. But it is. I don't know if it wasn't that, then it really incepted me, and that's how I interpreted it. But
Mhm.
yeah, just little things like that. And then she's at one point she's cooking and walks into the room with a knife, and that's almost like a jump scare for Charlie, because he's just so on edge and is like.
And
And I
then
think
she's even
Zendaya.
like, "What did you think I was gonna kill you?" Then she like
Yeah.
pushes the knife and everything, like in
Yeah,
a
she
joking
threads
way.
that line really well of like, is she
Yeah.
genuinely like, you know, uh, scary, or is she just innocently like playing with it? And I think throughout, like, they kind of have this back and forth of like, can we like joke about this yet, or like, are we still like, do we need to talk about this more, or are we good? And like,
Mhm.
it's just this like really, they're on this like really thin thread the whole time, and it's just like mind for great drama. And I think in the meantime, I believe Rachel, the friend who was like deeply upset by this, she kind of like, she was supposed to work with her on a project, but she gets her removed from that because she's not answering any of her calls and everything. And then there's one moment where Rachel like finally calls her back, and Zendaya answers the phone like, "Hey," like very very uncomfortable and
Mhm.
scared and everything. Um, and so yeah, so you've got that going on in the background. I think Charlie goes to talk to both of them, and try to, I think, make sure she like stays in the wedding, and stuff like that. And I think that conversation, that scene is a really good one too, with the three of them like in her office. And I think that leads to the conversation of Charlie being like, this is kind of an American thing, isn't it? And that's where like his British identity kind of comes into play. And he's like, it's so part of the culture here with guns and everything. And like, you just have to think, if this happens all the time, then like how many people have thought about it and not gone through with it. And like, you would never know if Emma hadn't revealed this to us because she was drunk, like, we would never know. She would still be like our Emma. And it's just, it brings up all of these questions that are just like, God, what would I do in that situation? And like, how do you handle that from someone that you love?
Yeah, and going back to the whole drunkenness of it all, during that scene where she does reveal everything, she's like, "Oh, but I was drunk. I didn't mean it." She's like, "Oh, so it's okay that you said it when you're drunk and everything?" Like, Rachel was firing back at her,
Mhm.
being like, "Drunk or sober, young or old, depressed or not, this is not okay. That you were even having thoughts of this and everything.
Yeah, you see that like her line is like absolutely crossed. Like there's no amount of understanding or explanation that can
And in such a
penetrate
short
it.
period of time, because seconds ago they were all best friends and everything. And it just shows how one thing, regardless of how big or small it is, this being the big thing, could change everything going forward.
Yeah, how fragile relationships really are. That like if you learned a secret that bad, then how would that change everything?
Yeah.
And I think we also it also kind of revealed in that scene when he's talking to Mike and Rachel. I think he kind of lies there about the trauma with the car accident when she was a kid, and she's like, well, you know, when she was little, she witnessed her best friend die in a car accident, which Emma clearly says didn't happen. And I think this keeps coming up with Charlie's character too, where he kind of will like lie or paper over things to kind of smooth things out to avoid conflict. And I just feel like that keeps coming up for him, and this was like a really clear example of like, see, you're lying too. You're lying about something that's very important and traumatic, but you're doing it because you think this will make Emma look in a better light. You know, it's still cynical lying, even if it's not about something quite as bad. But it just the gradients, the variations of how like we all do this to a degree. It's just about what degree you find acceptable or not.
Yeah, and again, the film, it it's willing to sit in that discomfort even in the
Hmm.
ugliest parts of people. And listen, none of the characters in this movie are really likable people. They're not necessarily unlikable people, but there's really not a ton about them that deems likable. And I love a film or a book or a TV show that follows an unlikable character. If you give me a reason to really not like them, and you give them some you have to give them some heft. You have to make us understand why they're the way they are. And, you know, again, we may not agree with the actions of any of these characters, but we understand why they're angry. We understand why they're sad. We understand why they're confused. And this film, as we keep on saying, it never over explains itself. It just lets you sit with it as things start to slip into something much more surreal. Because as the film progresses, it becomes even more surreal. And that's where
Hmm.
the dream scenario vibes start to really come in for
Yes,
me.
yeah.
Because the first like half hour, it's very normal, nothing too like wacko or anything. Like, yeah, the story is a little all over the place, but the way that everything is structured, it flows coherently. And then all this stuff happens, and you know, we keep talking about these characters and everything, but we gotta bring up another important character that is pretty prevalent to the story later on. That's Misha,
Yes.
who's played by Haley Gates, who
The great,
you've
yeah.
talked about you being a huge fan of. I know that you said that you love her and everything. I think when we reviewed The Moment a while back, you were talking about
Hmm.
how much you
Yeah, she's
really,
like
really
the
love her.
A24 character actress darling right now. Like she can
Y-
pop up in anything and be great.
She's literally in everything. She was in Mari
Yeah.
Supreme, she was in The Moment, and now she's in this. She was also in Uncut Gems, and she was
Hmm.
very fun in that for her little time on this. Stuff that happens with this character, that was one of the more interesting elements of the movie for me. Like, I was
Hmm.
so fascinated with this character and like just everything that was going on with her. So she works with Charlie, so to set up the
Hmm.
character, she works with Charlie at the museum that they curate and everything. And I don't even know what to start with this because like they have a very interesting rapport with one another, and then once the craziness starts to happen and Charlie begins to really, really, really spiral, they make out, and then they
Well, first they have
almost
that tense lunch conversation where he's trying to
you
dance
know I
around asking her the
I've kind of
hypothetical.
forgot about that moment because I was so focused on the intense moment that happened
Yeah.
after that. But oh my god, that lunch discussion where he's like, so what would you do if your boyfriend considered doing a shooting but didn't go through with it? What would you do in that regard? And then Misha's just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. And yeah, and she's just, I mean, obviously he's very like clunkily asking the question, like he's trying to dance around it exactly and, you know, kind of like asking for a friend. And yeah, I mean, she's put off by the conversation definitely, but it basically comes down to her just being like, well, that's like horrible, and I would call the cops. Like, isn't that what you're supposed to do in that situation? And he's getting more and more heated about it, and like, but you love him, and it can be explained, and like he's changed and all that. And she doesn't give him what he wants in that moment, and says like, no, that's a red line basically. And he freaks out and kind of like throws his lunch across the room, and then it cuts to their next scene where she's like, what the fuck was that? And then yeah, they sort of get into this weird, he breaks down, she gives him a hug, and then I don't know, what did you think about him like sort of initiating the affair there? Like, did that feel like earned, or was it kind of like out of nowhere?
It was definitely out of nowhere, but like it wasn't one of those situations where I'm like, oh my god, here we go, like eye roll and everything. Like he was in such like discomfort of everything that was happening that he
It's
probably
so
had no
fucked up,
idea.
yeah.
He had no idea how to react. He was just like, well, this woman is comforting me, and now I feel like it's easier for me to confide in her as opposed to the woman who I'm supposed to be marrying in a couple of days' time. So he was probably just crazy. It's crazy too that she went for it as well. And then like to add on to the uncomfortableness of everything, and at this point everything was uncomfortable, but like the camera just like she has like her clothes off, and then she like has her pants on, but then she just like stands there for like 20 seconds and he's not doing anything, and I'm just like, we're just lingering on this for so long.
Yeah, well, he's kind of
It's
like about to go for it, and then he just like breaks down and kind of has second thoughts. He's like, "Oh my god, what am I doing?"
I
And yeah,
and
he just like pulls away from her so like across the room, and she's just left there
when
like,
he
"What the
opened up
fuck?"
her shirt, and then you could hear the buttons clattering on the floor, then she's like looking for them and everything. She's
She's
like,
like,
you
"Okay."
ruined my shirt.
Yeah, it's a again a weird sort of like uncomfortable scene because it doesn't, it doesn't swell up the way that most like, sex scenes would or anything where it like gets immediately like it's weird, it's strange. It kind of it comes out of nowhere, but to me I was like his brain is just so scattered, and like I kind of think the fact that she did say like, no, that's a deeply fucked up situation that like I would not tolerate. I almost wonder if he's like sort of attracted to that in that moment because he's like feeling badly about the fact that he's with this woman who had these horrible thoughts, and like, it's almost feeling like grasping for some sense of normalcy there or something. But then yeah, it's just he immediately sort of like comes to his senses, and it's awkward and it's messed up, and it's like, and again, it's their relationship is now changed in a moment, and now they have this secret, and how does that affect everyone going forward? So
Yeah.
yeah, I think from there it kind of cuts like somewhat abruptly like right into the wedding, and we're like, okay, they're here, they're gonna go through with it.
Well, also, we didn't bring up this
Mhm.
scene, but we alluded to before that Rachel had talked about how her cousin was paralyzed after a mass
Mhm.
shooting. We didn't even talk about that Charlie encountered her.
Runs into her, yeah.
Yeah. And that scene
Yeah,
was pretty
and that's
crazy
awkward.
too.
Yeah, the way that he's, and again, it's like it keeps coming up with it comes up with the conversation with Misha, and here with the cousin, that he's, I think she's Rachel has asked her there to kind of like talk about the situation with her, and she kind of says like she doesn't want to feel like she's betraying her cousin by like being in the wedding, now that she has this information. And the way that Charlie's almost trying to like bully her into giving the right answer and saying like, oh, it's, I understand, it couldn't be that bad. He keeps saying like, oh, you would love Emma if you met her and everything, and he's constantly looking for this like validation from other people, and trying to get the okay from someone else, like that, like, don't worry about it, it's not that bad, Emma's great, everything will be fine. And like no one can give that to him because like it's a fucked up situation, and he's gotta reckon with that on his own, decide how like he feels about it on his own without trying to outsource his emotions to someone else.
Yeah, exactly. Now the wedding.
The wedding.
Where do we start with this? We don't even see the actual wedding happen, which I think was really
Not
smart.
really, yeah.
I think it was smart that when we cut to the wedding, the actual ceremony itself had already happened, and now we're just focused on the reception of it all. I think that
Hmm.
was really smart because if they had shown the wedding, I don't know. I think it's best that we jumped ahead and everything because
Yeah.
the craziness was bound to happen at the reception. And this is where, and I'm just going to jump in and say this, this is where Alana Hyde becomes the MVP of the movie for me because my God, like Her facial expressions, her mannerisms, genius. Her inflections, I was like, girl, I have been waiting for 5 years for you to be back on screen and actually doing something instead of wearing a little bop in one. I almost said Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, in one battle after another, and then just being Josh O'Connor's wife sitting by the phone in The Mastermind or
She's
whatever.
so good in
Like,
that though.
she is, but like I've been waiting since LP for her to actually do something
Yeah.
on screen. And of course, she's not the lead of this movie and everything, but she is just like, she just has this energy to her and this vicious side of her that I just love so much. And it just showcases that if anyone continues to doubt her as an actor, you need to get your fucking eyes checked because she is so good in this film. I mean, everybody is, but she is like the directions that she goes and the energy that she brings to that entire wedding reception scene and when she's giving her speech. Wow, just brava to Olana.
Yeah, it is something about the energy she brings. And I think she's kind of brave with this performance here because like obviously being offended by what she finds out about Emma, the fact that your friend considered a school shooting, obviously that is like a reasonable thing to be offended by, upset by and everything, but the way she plays it, she's almost like just really like indignant about it and like takes it almost personally. And like I said, she like immediately like goes to like my cousin has a, direct relation to this and like it almost she goes at it in such a way that like it almost feels like it's about her. Like she kind of does it in a way that like she's like a Karen complaining to the manager or something. And I think that's a smart choice because like we do that a lot. Like we center ourselves when we in some tragedy or something, and the way that she's upset at the wedding that like this should be talked about or something. And again, the fact that she's just like an understandable position, but she's like absolutely zero understanding or explanation from Emma that she wants to hear. So yeah, I think it's interesting the way that she plays it, that like she's willing to kind of be the one who's like the thorn in the side here. She's not going to give Charlie the easy answer and say like, oh, don't worry about it, we all go through hard times, I'm sure Emma's fine. Like she is absolutely like not going to let this die. And I think that like she plays such an important role in the film to be that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the intensity keeps building and building as this wedding is going on and everything. Emma is getting weary that people are talking about her because Rachel is opening her big mouth as she says to everybody about the thing and everything. And Charlie's like, calm down. I'm sure she's not doing it. This is our day. I'm sure she's not doing anything. And then even more drama ensues because then there's this whole thing with Misha going on, and she thinks that Misha is talking about her with the school shooting incident.
She
But
sort of
then,
overhears her say something about it through the bathroom door,
yes,
yeah.
yes. And then
And
just,
so she asks Charlie about this and wants to clear the air with Misha about the school shooting tidbit of information. But as Misha walks into the room with Charlie and Emma, she immediately jumps to, look, he kissed me. I didn't want anything to do with this. And obviously Emma did not know anything about that information. So that just adds another wrinkle to the day.
it completely adds a whole new wrinkle to it. And then, Rachel gives her speech, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, what is happening?" And then Charlie gives his speech. In the beginning of the movie, he was talking about how he was writing this beautiful speech, and we didn't even talk about this little moment too. There was a sequence where he was literally sitting at the computer, and he had a whole speech
Yes.
written
Mhm.
out and everything. Then he started changing things around, which played for a laugh, and then he just deleted the whole thing.
Yeah, and it goes to show like how he mentions something about like Emma's empathy, and then he starts to picture her as a teenager with a gun and everything. And it's just like all of the ways that his memories of her are like completely tainted at this point. And he just deletes the speech that he had like labored over so well. And now he's just at the wedding we're just seeing like him butcher it. We're seeing like all of these little details that were like really cute when he worked it out with his best man in the first scene, but now it's just like it's coming out all wrong.
It's
And
so uncomfortable.
yeah, it is like top tier cringe. He eventually just sort of devolves, I think, and then he just kind of says like, oh, I didn't mean to kiss her. He starts getting into the actual content of the drama that we're dealing with here, and and that devolves into revealing that it was Misha who he kissed, and her boyfriend is upset by that and immediately goes and rushes Charlie as he's giving the speech. And I think initially it cuts away. We don't actually see, but it sort of, again, this is sort of like a brave choice too. Like, we don't see the immediate aftermath. It just sort of cuts to him walking into his apartment in his tux, completely bloodied, and like his face is all messed up, and so we can just sort of assume what goes on there, and then as the cutting happens later, we actually see what
He's
went on.
Batman. This shouldn't have happened. He should have fought back. He's Batman. Come on. And he also played a vampire. He didn't have the suit. That's My friend and I were making a joke about that. We were just like, he shouldn't have gotten his ass plummeted. He's Batman, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, he was caught a little off guard, and he was a bit intoxicated. So I guess we can excuse it.
Caught very off guard, and I just love that cut too. I love how it just cuts. And one of the best headbutts on film, one of the funniest headbutts on film I think I've ever seen in my life. Oh my god! I also really loved the edit when he's in the bathroom cleaning himself up and he's saying "oh fuck," but it's like the beep from the phone like censors the word "fuck." I thought that was really. I don't know if you picked up on that. I thought that was really clever. That was a really clever edit, and that actually made me guffaw. I was sitting in my seat. I was like, like I just loved it so much. I loved that little element so much. And then we cut back to the wedding, and then Emma leaves, and I love the shot. I brought up earlier, I think the imagery is beautiful. The imagery in this film is really outstanding. It looks so good. I really love the shot of her leaving the venue with that like puffer jacket over the wedding dress.
Yeah, the bright
and it's like
orange over the wedding dress.
yeah, it's very dark outside. It's very cloudy. I really like the atmosphere and the backdrop of it all. I thought that was really, really cool. It enhanced the dark nature of everything that was happening throughout the movie at this point, but specifically what had just occurred in the film at this wedding. And yeah, I think it's I thought it was so good. I really, really liked that. And I didn't think that where throughout most of the movie, Charlie was kind of distancing himself from Emma. I didn't think that Emma was now going to feel violated and everything by it, that she was the one that was going to storm out of the wedding and everything. I didn't really see that coming.
Yeah, well, yeah, because, I mean, Charlie is the one who basically brings the house down with his messed up speech and everything. Like, it clearly couldn't stay under the surface anymore. And yeah, now she has to deal with the fact that he cheated on her briefly and everything. So they're sort of both aggrieved, but in very different ways. And how do you like unpack all of that and sort through it? But yeah, so we see him coming back to the apartment briefly. The little detail that we saw him earlier trying his shoes on, and he sort of like really like nudged his foot into it. And then as he takes his shoes off at the end of the night, his sock is cut and his toe is all bloody and everything. And I just a little, kind of trying to force that shoe on that sort of fits the overall message of the relationship, I thought too. And so just little details like that. And they had talked about going out to a diner after their wedding as like a cute, post-wedding thing. And so he goes to that diner and is ostensibly waiting for her to show up there, which she does. And so, yeah, what did you think when you saw the orange puffer coat coming down the street and you were like, okay, they're gonna reunite here?
Well, I'm still processing everything days later. I don't know.
I was like, it makes sense. I was like, I think it says something about relationships and the way that even when something is like toxic and messed up and everything feels bad, there's still like no part of me was like Emma's just gonna go to her parents' house or she's gonna run away or whatever. I'm like they need to like reconnect and like at the very least be like, man, crazy fucking night or whatever. Like the way that they're just keep being drawn to each other, I think is really well done. And you feel that even though we don't know them as a couple very long or anything, but you just feel that even as things get worse and worse and worse, it's kind of like hey, we're in this together. And
Yeah.
I to me that's sort of the feeling that you get in that last scene.
I think the last scene was phenomenal. I thought it was a phenomenal last scene, and I just love that whole exchange and Zendaya's performance. Like I've been praising Robert Pattinson's performance throughout this episode. I haven't really sung the praises of Zendaya. I really do think that she is outstanding here,
Hmm.
but in that moment to see even more vulnerableness from her and just her like holding back her tears, being like, "I'm Emma, what's your name?" And
Hmm.
he's like, "I'm Charlie," and she's just like, "Can we start over?" And I just thought that, it does pose the question. It's like, what's going to happen to their relationship going forward? Are they going to last, or are they going to have to start over, or are they not going to be a thing anymore? Like, what's going to happen with them going forward? It really, again, I like the fact that we're not told explicitly what's going to happen to them. And I will say that, like, we're lucky to live in the diner capital of the world. This made me want to go to a diner immediately after watching the movie. I was like, oh, I am craving a diner
A
hamburger right
cheeseburger and a
now.
Diet Coke, I think you ordered.
Yeah,
I was like, that
cheeseburger
sounds
and a
great.
Diet Coke. Next time I go to a diner, I might get that in honor of in honor of Charlie. Was that Charlie's order? That was his order, right?
That was his
He
order. Yeah, I
ordered the
don't think we hear her
cheeseburger.
order. We just see her go up to the counter. I don't think we hear what she
Right,
got. So
right.
we have to guess. Just it's an
Yeah,
ambiguous ending. What did Emma order?
yeah. What did Emma order? Hashtag release the what did Emma order cut. No, I just like the shot of him just coming in all bloodied up. I love that nobody
Yeah.
questions it. He just walks up and then he just sits down. It's like no one's gonna question the fact that this man is walking into a diner all bloodied up with a suit and everything. Like no one's gonna, no
The
one's gonna ask questions.
I think the cashier is like, "You okay, hun?" He's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Okay, what do you have?" Like it was just no one's really all that fussed.
No further elaboration, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah,
Oh,
I think that that last scene just really accomplishes everything. Like nothing is settled, everything is a mess, and yet they're still here together, and they're can yeah, are they going to start over like that? That thing where she just sort of says like, "Hi, I'm Emma. Come here often" and stuff. Like we see that in their first interaction. We see that later when they're having like a particularly bad fight and everything.
hmm
It's like, yeah, is that going to work? Are they genuinely going to be able to just come at each other with fresh eyes and put all this in the past? Are they going to deal with it? Are they going to bury it? Is it, yeah, it leaves a lot of questions, and I think that's smart. I wouldn't want that to be answered. I wouldn't want like a flash forward or anything. I like where we leave them, and you're just kind of left wondering.
Do you think they make it? Do you think that they go forward in their marriage? Like, what do you think?
I worry less for their relationship with each other than like their relationship with their all of their friends and family who now have to
Yeah.
like who like got way too much information. And like I feel like you have like when you're in a relationship, I feel like you're having the same experience. Like you can almost that sense of like what he says, radical acceptance at some point, that almost exists, but like other people are going to be like, what the fuck was that? Like that almost feels worse. I feel like if they do stay together, they got to like lay low for a while and like let everyone know in a few years, like, yeah, just so you know, we're still okay. Don't worry about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. And watching this movie, it just makes you wonder what are their dynamics going to be like in the other two movies that these actors are starring in? Are
I
they
think
going
it's
to be just as chaotic, or are they going to be a bit more calmer? I
I
don't
saw a
expect
review
that
or
in
something
Dune.
that
Maybe
was
the Odyssey, but not in Dune.
there's a review that was like, yeah, I wonder if these two are going to work it out in the Odyssey.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. Are there any particular moments or aspects of the movie that you want to highlight that we haven't mentioned yet?
I think just with the speeches at the wedding, we also didn't mention the dad's speech and Emma's dad's speech, and that's after we've been introduced to this new DJ that has to come in last minute, because the other one was fired, and as her dad is giving the speech and touching a little bit on the period of time when she was in high school and when she was going through this and everything, and him saying that to his view, she just sort of like transitioned into that. Like we're saying, she found community with an
Mm-hmm.
anti-gun sort of group and everything. So he like to him that's just sort of who she's always been, and he doesn't understand the turmoil that she was actually going through at the time. And then in the middle of the as the DJ is setting up, there's this very loud bang, and as everyone is on edge,
Oh my
thinking about
God. how did I
That was
forget
a big
about that jump
moment.
scare? That was
Yeah.
that that was nuts. I'm like, oh no, it's happening.
Yeah, and yeah, I was a little on edge the whole time that that's something either real like that or imagined, like, in like Charlie's sort of fixations on it, like that kind of could have happened at any time. And yeah, that was just like really brilliantly introduced. So yeah, just little moments like that. And yeah, there's a million little things of images of sound cues, things where we're sort of sent back either to past Emma or current Emma with guns, with the blood. He sort of sees it falling from her ear at one point because that's how she went deaf, was from practicing with the gun. Like all of these little things that are like, it's hard to explain chronologically or anything, but just these moments that just really they makes you tense. It makes you like on edge. And wondering
Yes,
what's gonna happen next. But yeah,
absolutely.
any other moments that we didn't talk about for you?
Um, I just think that it's impressive of how Christopher Borgli, handled this very heavy material and then approached it with a dark comedic lens. And, it's a very tough thing to pull it off, but it really works for me. I was really impressed with that whole element of it. I think, like, I brought up before that I had a few gripes with it. On the top of my head,
Hmm.
I guess I did want a little bit more of like backstory with both of these characters. And I guess in the long run, it makes sense why we didn't get a ton. I mean, we obviously got enough with Emma and everything, seeing her as a kid and then her, having the desire to shoot up her school, and then all of a sudden tossing that away and becoming, an advocate for gun control and everything. But I guess I would have liked just a little bit more backstory too of like Emma and Charlie's relationship. I would have liked to have seen a bit more like sequences of like early on their relationship and then building up to them. I would have liked to have seen a proposal scene personally. I don't know.
Hmm.
I guess the idea of like I could pretend that it's Robert Pattinson proposing to me, and then that would be fine with me. But unfortunately, we didn't get that. So, But
Yeah.
honestly, I on the top of my head, I can't really think of many gripes with the movie. I do feel that when I watch this again, and I do hope that I could watch this again, I feel like my opinion on the movie will grow. I think I will like the movie a bit more on the rewatch. I don't know how much more, but I could see myself liking it more on the rewatch. I would like to hope that it doesn't go down. I'm not the kind of person who like drastically changes his opinion. It's happened, not very often, but it's happened. But we'll have to see. There's just so much discourse with the movie too. So, like, there's
Yeah.
so much
I'm
discourse
so
about the
curious
movie.
what the discourse is going to be like as more people see it and everything. Yeah, I definitely can understand as sort of a criticism that like Charlie and Emma are a little like blank, like they're just sort of generic 30 something successful people, and we don't get too many details of their relationship. But to me that kind of it works pretty well because for Emma it's like on the surface she's just this super successful gorgeous person professionally and personally, and like she just kind of seems to have it all, and it's like and yet you can connect her to that 15-year-old girl, and you can kind of see the trajectory there of like there's another quick moment where there's like she has a photo of her from when she was little, and Charlie's like, oh, let me see that, and she's like, no, I look terrible, and it just you can sort of see how someone goes through something so terrible, a period where they are so despondent, and like you kind of just slowly move through it, and like you can grow up to be a fairly normal well-adjusted person, but like that is still inside you, like that turmoil still exists somewhere. And then with Charlie it's sort of like he is a little blank, but that almost like it's like maybe he's not a person who ever went through a dark time like that, and so he's sort of coming from a place of trying to understand it, but he's also like I said, he's sort of to me he's the one who's more obsessed with other people's perceptions of him and with them as a couple, and things like that. So it's sort of like you can see where that comes in, that he's doesn't have much all that much of like an internal life. It's more about just trying to project the correct things outward. So to me, I think that their characterization works. Although if this was like a little bit longer or something, and we got more scenes with them, like I wouldn't mind that too.
Yeah, totally, totally. Before we give our final grades, we did this little segment when we reviewed Project Hail Mary a few weeks ago where we talked about the film's Oscar prospects. We talked about a lot of Oscar potential with Project Hail Mary. I don't
Hmm.
think this is going to, the
I
Oscars are
don't
going to
think
even
so.
come close to nominating this film for anything. Like,
Yeah,
there's no
I would
shot.
I would love either performance to get some recognition, but yeah,
I
it's
would love
maybe
to live in a
if
world where both of these actors were Oscar nominees. Not
oh
necessarily
yeah.
for this movie, but just in general. Like the fact that Pattinson is not an Oscar nominee at this stage is really sad, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's coming for both of them, like probably even within the next few years. But
I would
yeah,
say
I don't know
within
if
the
this is
next
the movie
five to
for it.
10 years, these both of these people will be hailed Oscar nominees. I don't
I
know
think
for what.
Zendaya came close with Malcolm and Marie because that was like the weird COVID year. I think she was like
Yeah,
near, but
she was
yeah, she
definitely
didn't make it.
on the bubble for sure. And like obviously, if that were a regular year, she wouldn't have even come close at all. But because
Hmm.
of that weird COVID year, it was like, could Zendaya be Oscar nominated? Like, just imagine. I mean, listen, she has 2 Emmys, and that's awesome and
Yep.
everything. Um, we brought up earlier in the episode of how like, oh, Anne Hathaway's in the bajillion projects. I mean, listen, Robert Pattinson and Zendaya are in 3 projects together, this being one of them, and then Zendaya has 2 other projects this year on under her sleeve with Spider-Man, and then of course Euphoria season 3, which I cannot believe comes back next week.
As soon,
That's
yeah, right.
that's insane. Also, another A24 property, fiddly
Hmm.
enough. Um, but yeah, I don't know if there's anything else that we really have to say. I'm sure there's something that
Yeah,
we
no.
forgot, and I'm thinking like really hard. I'm like, did we forget to talk about anything?
I would just say, what was the reaction in your theater? Like, was there a lot of reacting to the screen and everything, or was it a little more subdued?
To the twist, or just in general to the
Just
movie?
yeah, throughout the movie, were there laugh
Very
lines or
reactive. Very
yeah,
reactive.
mine
They
too.
laughed when they needed to laugh. They screamed when they needed to scream. And I went to a press screening for this. So
Hmm.
naturally it was a very shocking environment. I mean, some of the press people brought plus ones. I would have brought a plus one if I had known a plus one was allowed to be brought, but that's near here nor there. But it was interesting because one of the people that I watched the movie with, her friend is getting married this weekend. So for her reaction, just
Great
being like,
timing.
watching this movie before my friend's wedding was so crazy and everything. And I just think about how my best friends got married a few months ago. My sister got married over a year ago. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, man, if I was watching this movie in the midst of like, prepping for a wedding and
Hmm.
everything. And my sister and her husband, who never go to the movies at all, they're going to watch this tomorrow in the theater, time of recording. I'm very intrigued to see what they think of this. I bet when they watch this, they're going to be so happy that, oh, we had the wedding, it's all done, it's all over. We're very open with one another. So I'd be interested to see like how the non cinephiles in my life
Yeah, that's
watch
what I'm
this
wondering.
movie.
Cause like, if you go on just the marketing, they are definitely trying to push this as like this is a Zendaya and Robert Pattinson, like maybe not rom com, but like you can obviously tell that it
They're
sort of is
trying to
gonna take a turn.
capitalize on these
But
two
yeah,
popular actors, and there's this
hmm,
romance in between them. It's kind of similar,
yeah,
well, not entirely, but like I remember how when they were marketing Die My Love, they're like, oh, it's Jennifer Lawrence and Robert
hmm,
Pattinson, two of the most likable and popular and attractive people. But then, of course, you watch the movie and you're like, this isn't what I signed up for. So I do wonder if there are going to be people that watch this movie thinking that it is going to be a conventional rom com, but then they watch it and they're like, this isn't what I wanted. I didn't
yeah. I'm
want a
interested
real
because
drama.
yeah, and like Die My Love, at least it you can tell it was sort of more artsy drama, like in that lane. This like really has the trappings of like a big movie star rom com, dramedy, whatever. Like I think that a lot of people are gonna like be intrigued by that, and then absolutely not know what they're in for, which I think is fun. I'm excited that people who wouldn't go see normally, a relationship thorny drama about like what do you do with a person who has had
Hmm.
dark thoughts of committing mass shootings, like the fact that that's not part of the log line I think is a positive because it'll get people in the door. And then I think this is something that a lot of obviously if you're particularly like triggered by the subject matter or anything, obviously this is not something to deal with, but I think that if you're open-minded and willing to go there, then this is something that I'm glad it kind of springs it on you, and people are going to be having these conversations who wouldn't normally.
Right.
Like people leaving my theater were like talking about it so much. There was one girl who
After my
was,
screen, we were just
mhm,
outside the theater talking for probably like almost 40 minutes.
yeah,
Like we had lengthy discussions about this movie. And then of course like driving home cuz my screen was in the city of Philly and that's an hour drive for me. So just sitting at home like on the drive home and everything just talking with the person who came to the screen with me and everything and we were just talking for like 45 minutes and then I called someone on the phone and we were talking about it and everything. It's just like this is one of those movies where it's like if the water cooler thing was still existing, this is one of those movies where
yeah.
you would stand around the water cooler and you would just analyze it, discuss it, be like, "Oh, I liked this. Oh, I didn't like this." It just made me think of that like the entire time I was watching it and everything.
It sort of in a way evokes like the I guess 50s 60s era of those almost morality plays that were like made into movies of like social dramas and stuff, and like, oh god, like what would I do in that situation, and like I just think,
Yeah,
yeah, it's something that's like so ripe for conversation. And like I
absolutely.
said, I could see someone making the argument that this is offensive in some way. It's very touchy subject matter, so I can totally understand if someone thinks it's not handled well.
Yeah,
For
this
me
is one of those
personally,
movies where I get both
yeah.
sides. I understand if someone walks out of this movie not vibing with it at all. I totally get it. But
Hmm.
then on the
For
flip
yeah.
side, like if someone says that they think it's great and the way it handles it, I respect the opinion. I'm willing to hear both sides with this movie. But that's how it is with any movie. There are just people out there who aren't open to the idea of hearing why something works for them and why something doesn't work for them.
Or
Me,
that it just shouldn't be used for this premise at all, that it's just like,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. This movie is meant to invoke a very interesting array of conversations. And listen, not everything about this movie works, and I'm willing to admit that. And I know Veronica is too, but we were both very impressed with how this film turned out, and understandably so. Again, this is not a film that would be an easy recommendation. Like, I don't see myself recommending this to anyone. There are a lot of people in my life who have asked me if this movie's worth seeing, and I said, I'm just going to warn you. It's not a conventional movie. It's not
Yeah,
like your
there's some
typical.
caveats.
Yes, there's caveats to it. It's not your typical like Netflix rom-com where you could shut your brain off and just watch people being silly and doing things. No, this is a movie that makes you think things. It's going to linger with you and it may evoke some thoughts, but in the long run, when you watch a movie that makes you think so much, to me that's a reward. Like if you're going to be constantly thinking about a movie, regardless if it's good or bad, then hopefully that's a win for some people.
Yeah, I think so. And that's, like you said, you saw it a few days ago. I just saw it last night, but I've been chewing on it, and definitely want to see it again. And yeah, I just think that it's the sort of thing that like is really good in our movie landscape, because we have
Yeah.
precious few of these with big stars and good filmmaking behind it and everything. So
Yeah.
this is my favorite movie of the year so far. So this
Yeah.
is
Did you
pretty high
did you
marks for
see it
me.
with your boyfriend or did you go by yourself?
No, it was just me. He was busy, so I
Ah,
was just sitting in the back of the theater, just like the little
would have been
sicko meme,
interesting to
I was
hear
just
his
enjoying all of
thoughts
it.
on the movie.
I told him we should go see it at some point, but we'll see.
That'd be a very interesting review. You should like send it in and then we should play like an audio snippet of his review. We should give a
Or
little tease to the audience. A special appearance.
or I could just skip right to the conclusion and ask him what the worst thing he ever did was, and then we could have a really fun conversation. I feel like
Little
that's what
tease
everyone is gonna take out of this, like just immediately looking at their partner, like, hmm.
a little tease for the pod coming soon to Patreon. So final ratings for the drama.
Hmm.
I'll go first with my rating. I gave this a 4 star. I really liked it overall. I really, really liked it. I'm close to loving it. The more I think about the movie, the more like well it sits with me. I haven't stopped thinking about this movie. There's a lot to celebrate. The performances are outstanding. The balance of tones is impressive. I'm excited to see where Kristoffer Borgli does next behind the camera. I think he is one of the
Yeah.
most unique voices that we have working today. He is someone that literally is willing to take risks with his storytelling, and I think that's a commendable element of his work. Not everything sticks to landing, but overall, it was a fascinating commentary, very provocative, very much out there and wild and bonkers, and I had a really great time watching it. And yeah, I can't wait to see it again. Veronica, what would you give the drama?
I'm going with 4.5 out of 5 stars. Yeah, this is high up for me. Like I said, I absolutely love the performances. I like that it goes there and doesn't really let anybody off the hook. Like it gives you a lot to chew on and like I said to talk about afterwards. And it's beautiful. It's well made. It's just the kind of thing that, like I said, we just don't have enough movies like this anymore. And so I think this one is pretty special for me, at least so
Yeah.
far this year. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is a high marks from me.
Yes. Also, great Zoe Winters performance.
Oh
Another
yes, I didn't mention she was the
like
photographer. Yeah,
like keep casting her in these small roles in A24 movies. She was so good in Materialists, I thought, and she was very good in the one scene of this. Just like she plays uncomfortable so well.
and that just like giant smile, like super like
Oh,
kind of
the
fake
smile! It's
nice.
just,
Yeah,
and I mean, she did this same thing on Succession as well. So she's
Mhm.
just hire her in more projects, please. And
She's
that's all
awesome
I
too.
have left to
Yeah,
say about it.
I love the like group of like A24 players who are just like showing up and everything, and they always
Love it
do
so
such great
much.
work.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that concludes our review of the drama. But be sure to let us know what you thought of the film on our socials and YouTube.
And with that, that's a wrap on today's episode of Some Like It Real. Thank you all for joining us. If you're interested in following along our journey, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Brian Setfield.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Vera Albarella and on Letterboxd at Alba_real_A.
And you can follow the show on all socials at Some Like It Real, as well as on YouTube at Some Like It Real. Be sure to subscribe and share it around and tune in every Monday for a new episode of Some Like It Real on podcast platforms.
We'll see you next time.